Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Levan Magbemi. In this video, I want to quickly talk about the difference between null, undefined, and empty string in JavaScript. I'm going to open my text editor. I have this HTML structure here in this file called index.html, and I have my JavaScript file empty. And the purpose of these two files is so I'll be able to log in some values into the console and explain some of the things I'm going to do in this video to you. Null, undefined, and string are primitive data types. And if you check MDN documentation of what primitive data type is, it is defined as a data that has no methods, no properties, and they are not objects. And that was very confusing for me when I started learning JavaScript because I know fully well that I could use some methods on string and numbers, for example, which are primitive data types. So let's take, for example, I'm going to declare a variable and I'm going to call this variable person, and I'm going to set it to a string of Peter. Now let's say we want to get t from this string. We can use the char@at method by getting the index of t. So p is 0, e is 1, and t is 2. So I'm going to log in my console person dot char@2, and it's going to return the letter in that correct index of 2. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to open my console and you see we are getting 2. So if MDN defines primitive data types as data that are not objects, they have no method and properties, how come I'm able to use the char@at method on this string? Now let me explain. What JavaScript does behind the scene is to convert this into an object first before using the method. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to declare another variable and I'm going to call this variable person2. And there's a new string constructor which is an object. So I'm going to say new string, and this is a built-in JavaScript constructor. And I'm going to pass in my name, Levi, and save. And I'm going to log this value into the console. So I'm going to log person2, this variable, into the console. So you see, we get string. It's a data type of string. It's a string data type, but it's an object instead of an ordinary string. And it's like an array-like object. It has length, and you see, it's zero based, just like an array. We have 0, 1, 2. So if I should convert, there's also a method that you can use to convert this um, person here to a string object. So let's say person dot to string. Can use this to string method to convert person to a string, and instead of getting using the char@at method, let's just log in person. We are also getting Peter, but that's because the to string method is actually used to convert another data type into a string. So let's just get rid of this, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to put in char@at here back, and we are getting 2. So let's demonstrate this using a number also. So I'm going to declare a variable and I'm going to call it num, and I'm going to set it to a number, and I'm going to set it to 11. Now I'm going to use the to fixed method on this number, which is going to add decimal and add number of digits you specified in the method. So I'm going to console.log number dot to fixed, and I'm going to pass in 2, and this is what we get. We get 11.00. So if I change this to 3, it's going to be 3 digits after the decimal point. So what this does behind the scene is, so there's also a number constructor which is an object, a built-in JavaScript object. So I can say const, and num2 num2, and I can set this to new and I can set this to number. I don't think for number we have to use the new keyword. I can set this to number, to the number constructor, and I can also pass in 11, and I'm going to log in my console num2. So we have 11. So it's the same thing as using, so what JavaScript does is to convert any primitive data type you are using a method on to an object first. So when MD and phase primitive data types are data types that are not objects, they have no method and properties. They're actually right, because what JavaScript does behind the scenes is to convert it to an object first. So if I do dot to fixed and add theory, we're also going to get the same results. So I just want to point out to that before I talk about the difference between null, undefined, and empty string. So I'm going to declare three variables here, and I'm going to say person1, so const person1, and I'm going to set this to null, and I'm going to const declare another variable and call it person2, and I'm going to set this to undefined, and I'm going to declare another variable person3, and I'm going to set it to an empty string. Now, what's the difference between this three expression here? So null, when you set a variable to null signifies the absence of a value, or null represents an unknown value, a value that is yet to be known, but for now it is not known. Undefined simply signifies the absence of a variable or a data. So it means this variable is not holding any data, it is undefined. And person theory, which is being set to an empty string, is not empty, it's not undefined, but it is a string, but it is an empty string, meaning the string has no value. You can define a string using two ways, either using the string constructor like I showed you earlier, or wrapping whatever you want to be a string in single quote or double quote. So when you use set a variable to a string, it is a data type. So that variable is not null, which is not empty. It is not defined because it's holding a data type of string. So that's for string. Now, undefined and null. So let's let's declare a variable, and I'm just going to call this person. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to compare these two, person2 and person. So if I log this in my console and I compare person to person2, person2 is going to evaluate to true. Now let's not test both the data type, let's test only the value, because by using the 3 equals to operator, we are testing both the data type. So I'm just going to save, and you also get true because this is undefined and this is undefined. If I should log them separately in the console, so I log person 2, I'm going to log in person 2, and I'm just going to copy this and remove the 2 and save. So we get undefined. So both are undefined. So let's try to log in a variable that does not exist. So I'm just going to log in this object, and we are going to have an error here saying object is not defined. So undefined signifies the absence of data in a variable, or the absence of a variable Now, if the variable does not exist in your code, it's going to throw an error in the console. But if it exists, the console is going to log a message of undefined. Now, null simply means an unknown value, a value which is unknown. So I want it to be empty for now, but it is holding the data type of null, so it is not undefined. So what I'm going to do next is to compare null, which is empty, and this empty string. And I'm going to start first by so I'm going to log in my console, and I'm just going to test the value and not the data type. So I'm going to say person1 equals to person3, yeah, person3, and save. Person1 equals to person3, and we are not going to get anything. So if you want to really know if they are true, we are going to test both the data type, and we're supposed to get false. So, oh, this is actually blocking it. So let's just comment this out. And let's try this again. And you see, we're getting false without even testing the data type. If you test the data type also, we're also going to get false. So there are two different things, null and empty string. They are different. So this means the absence of a value, an unknown value, and this means the absence of a variable or a data in a variable. So data, I mean data type, any data type like arrays, object, string, and null itself. If we set this to null, it is not undefined. So I'm just going to set this to null just for this purpose. And we are going to compare person and person2, null and person2. And we person and person2, we are getting true because we are not checking the data type. But if we check the data type, we are going to get false. So there are two different things. It's actually, but you see, when we are not testing the data type, we get true. You see, we are getting true here because this is undefined and this is empty. So if you test the value, they are both empty. But if you test the data type, there are two different things. And I hope you understand. So I hope by watching this video, you understand the difference between these three data types. So when you set a variable to null, I'm just going to set this to undefined back. When you set a variable to null, when you set a variable to undefined, and when you set a variable to an empty string. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope it's helpful. And if you like this video and if you benefit from this video, what I want you to do is to share this video with your friend, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and I'm going to see you next time in another video. Thanks for watching.